Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you'll enjoy this live legal education content. And today will be the day I earn that subscription, as I remember to kill the volume on the playback so it won't echo. For today's episode, we are doing up our coverage of the Amber Heard Johnny Depp saga that is playing out in Fairfax County, Virginia, my former home. Yes, it is ongoing as we enter week 3 of this 6-week trial, which is 6 weeks for some reason. And we started the day off with Johnny Depp on the stand again. He was being crossed as we left our episode on Thursday, and so cross resumed. Now on Thursday, Amber Heard's lawyers on cross were ineffective. They weren't getting anywhere. They were able to show that he was a drug user, but, he kind of already conceded all that. They spent a lot of time trying to prove something that kind of everyone already knew, that he was a drug user and used alcohol. And, this is a box that might have held cocaine at one point. It's kind of, but, it's a desensitization issue. Assuming it was shocking the first time you heard it, which it isn't, because Johnny Depp mentioned it first, which again is the reason that you mention bad evidence first. Because when you mention bad evidence first, you can control it a little bit, right? You can control a little bit on exactly how the question comes, and you can control a little bit on how the answer comes out, right? So it is very good practice. If you have bad evidence against you, it's probably a good idea for you to mention it first, all things being equal. Because if the first time the jury hears it is from the other guy, they'll frame it however they want to, which will not be favorable to you, I am sure. And anyways, Johnny Depp's lawyers did a very good job on direct. They did an outstanding job on direct in helping to draw the sting, as we sometimes phrase it, to mention things first, draw the sting. And they did a very good job in doing that and prepping us for it. So when Amber Heard's got into cross-examination on Thursday, especially in the afternoon, they weren't really getting anywhere. They were just kind of floundering around. It wasn't really picking up anything. It just kind of didn't really do anything. Well, fortunately today, Amber Heard's lawyers decided to show up to the party. And I say fortunately because I believe everyone has the right to a zealous lawyer and a competent lawyer. And fortunately for Amber, at least, today, on the cross-examination of Johnny Depp, they did a very good job. They did a good job of bringing out some uncomfortable audio, of some uncomfortable stories that showed, again, that could reasonably be led to understood by a person that Johnny Depp was verbally or emotionally abusive in some sense of the term. Now, there's a lot of ways to get around this problem in terms of if you're Johnny Depp. For example, that she was always the instigator and you were, not punching and stuff. So it's not like he's doomed. But the lawyers want to extract the most out of this they can, right? They want to give the language. It's a question of the scope of the language of the article. And so they want to give a term like abuse or violence its widest possible meaning. Because if it's widest possible meaning, they have to prove less. So if violence or abuse can be understood to include such things as verbal or emotional rather than physical, right? They did a reasonably good job of bringing to light some evidence that showed Johnny Depp to be in a bad light. That showed that he had done things that could be viewed in that context. And again, it could be viewed differently. But they did a good job of trying to isolate pieces of audio and isolate pieces of question. They definitely brought their A game today. So they did a good job on cross this morning against Johnny Depp. Unfortunately for them, their goodness in cross was roundly beaten by Johnny Depp's redirect. It was really good. It was really good. They played more of the tapes than Amber had asked them about. Amber Heard's side had asked them about. And the rest of the tapes were really, really bad for Amber. They made her seem very controlling, very dominating, very abusive, calling him names, commanding him to the couch like he's a dog or something, literally saying the words, "Go ahead and tell your story, Johnny Depp, and see who believes you." Wow. You know, literally would not let him leave when he wanted to leave. And he wanted to leave the situation and spend time apart. She literally wouldn't let him go. Because he said, if you leave, you'd be killing me. A lot of emotional manipulation and mental manipulation there. It was quite painful to listen to. So the pain that I felt on behalf of Johnny during the cross-examination portion was more than met, in my opinion, by the pain that was inflicted upon Amber Heard in the redirect, which was pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Now, I mean, they had the weekend to prepare for it. So, you know, you would hope that they'd be prepared, but they definitely brought their A game too, and they did a really good job. So, very, very impressive. And Johnny Depp got off the stand. And then we brought in the Butler, house manager, and his direct was kind of okay. I mean, it was nothing particularly special. They brought him in for it seemed to me, some fairly limited purposes. They brought him in to describe the house. They brought him in particular to describe how many exits or entrances there are from the house, which is going to going to go to something later, because Amber Heard had made this claim that she was being kidnapped for 3 days. And so they asked the question to lay foundation for a future question at some point: how many doors are there? And the Butler didn't seem to really understand why he was asking, but he did his best job of answering. It's like, oh yeah, there's lots of doors. Many, many doors. There's the front door and the door in the gym and the sliding door that goes to the pool and the door in the garage and the door that goes onto this and door that goes onto that. You know, it's lots and lots of doors. Lots and lots of ways of getting in and out of this place. So, you know, maybe less with the being kidnapped, because you could have literally left. You see, if you can leave, it's not really kidnapping. Kidnapping is when someone prevents you from leaving. If you can leave, it's not really kidnapping. Yeah. So that's part of the reason we brought him in. And the other part of the reason we brought him in was to describe what he does in sort of being a house manager, to describe how he plant prepped the house, and most importantly, how he found the finger. Most importantly, how he found Johnny Depp's finger. I'm sorry. I know it's domestic violence. It shouldn't be funny, but I'm choosing to laugh to relieve the pain, so bear with me. How he found Johnny Depp's finger at the end of the bar, how he put it on ice and had his security team rush it to the hospital to see if it could be reattached. Which I think the answer to that question is no, incidentally, because as I remember Johnny Depp testifying, his finger was restored by a skin graft from another part of his hand. So I think the answer to that question was no, but not that it really matters either way. 1999, from C. Neal. My favorite part of the Butler was asking Amber if he ever lost it. That was a pretty good one. And $10 from Porcupine Mayhem. Thank you very much. It is appreciated always. All your super chats are very, very appreciated, as I make an effort to make this more of a full-time thing. You can stall committing kidnapping by threatening to keep the person there. Yes, restraint doesn't have to be physical. This is true. But, you know, still, all that stuff. Put Elon Musk in my title? You think? Anyway, so we brought the Butler in for the purpose of describing finding the finger, of finding it, putting it on the ice, finding the broken bottles of, liquor. He was able to identify which specific bottles it was by his label. Made a point of knowing that. I'm like, okay. Also, he has a really good memory of specific things, or he's been really well prepped by whoever prepped him on their team, because he seemed to know really good details about who was there, when they were there, specific people, specific events. He seemed to have very good information, and he seemed to be very, very credible to my mind, all things considered. Yeah. All you need to hear was that she pooped in the bed? Okay. So then we got to the cross-examination of the butler, and again, it's like the Amber Heard side is just floundering around. They don't know what to do. They keep asking all these specific questions, but why? Why are you asking these questions? Why are you asking the questions about the things? I don't know. I don't understand. You asking questions about, like, isn't it true that this is like the blood that you saw and was like leading up the stairs and there's blood there? Like, okay. I'm like, yeah, this is helpful for you. Why exactly? And then we got into picture time. Oh, you found the lampshade with the words on them in the ink. You found the bathroom mirror. You found the mirrors with the words on them. Could you tell whose words are on top of each other? I mean, I guess it tells you who wrote second, but why? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know why they're asking a lot of these questions. It just didn't really seem to make sense to me. And then they got completely lost and flummoxed on an answer they didn't seem to be expecting. He did object to his own question, which was hilarious at one point. That was good. That was good. He did object to his own question, which was hilarious. He got flummoxed because he asked a question along the lines of, you gave all the photos to the defense team, or apologize to Johnny Depp's team. And he said, no, I didn't give all of them. And he seemed to not expect that answer. Like, it's the first time he's ever heard it. So even though this guy was deposed, they didn't ask him that question. They didn't ask him for the photos, right? So they seemed really surprised. He's like, I didn't give them all to them. And it's like, well, how many did you give him? I don't know. And then they went through this really torturous exercise because he didn't know specific things. I'm like, let it go. Let it go. Was it 3? Was it more than 3? Was it more than 5? Was it 10? Was it between 10 and 20? I'm thinking to myself, he doesn't know the answer to the question. He told you he doesn't know. How many total photos was there? I don't know. You know, who exactly on their team asked you for the photos? I don't know. How many photos did you give him for the UK trial? Not sure about that one. How many photos did you give him for the US trial? Don't know that either. They just kept asking this over and over again. They got so repetitive. It was getting so annoying that in Legal Bite Stream at sort of the end of it, when it was wrapping up, I just made this like monologue over top of the audio. And I'm like, well, now's a good time for us to comment, I guess, because there's no testimony for you guys to hear in the live stream. It's just the same thing you've already heard 4 times before. You guys aren't missing anything. Just repeat, rinse, repeat in your head. You're not missing anything. You're there, right? And that's just like why? Like, and then Johnny Depp's team on redirect were able to get him with the one question. Did Amber Heard's lawyers ask him for photographs? No. Right. Great. No problem. There might be other photographs. We turned over everything we have. So sorry you didn't ask him for photographs. I don't know whether or not Johnny Depp's lawyers knew if they had everything or not. I mean, I don't know, nor do I particularly care either way. Because they can ask only for certain photographs. If that's all they care about, they can ask for everything. You know, I probably asked for everything, but maybe that wasn't the way they rolled. I don't know. But either way, they're like, well, we can only disclose to you what we have. So we disclose to you what we have. Did you guys ask for photographs? No? Okay. Well, that's the end of that analysis. It's like, you know, just wasting time. Get Uncivil to 55K, only 600 away. Well, thank you very much for that comment. It's very, very appreciated. What I thought was interesting, it ended up being a $50,000 fight for repairs to damages. I mean, given what they described the house as being like and the quality of things that are probably there, that's probably a reasonable estimate. I mean, they got blood dripping from the first floor to the third. So I would imagine that might take a little bit of effort. Plus the floors needed to be, you know, redone in some way. They asked, did they need to be resanded? I'm not sure about that. Ask him questions he wouldn't possibly know the answer to. Like, did they need to be reset? How was he supposed to know this? I don't know. The whole thing was really, really weird. So the overall context of the day, they asked for the last 10 years of his text messages. Of Johnny Depp's, yeah, maybe, but not of what they needed. So overall, it was Johnny Depp's day. Now, I think on terms of where we were at the end of the day, in the whole, is kind of like a little bit like where we were at the end of the day Thursday, in terms of the legal minutia. Now, I think that Amber Heard's lawyers have been absolutely dreadful at trying to prove Johnny Depp ever hit Amber Heard or touched her, like ever. Maybe they headbutted one time. They were married. Maybe they had a headbutt one time because they got too close to each other. That's the kind of thing that you could have happen just like being around people. I've accidentally headbutted somebody by being too close to them before, just like in a restaurant or something. Like we both move our head at the same time, you know? It has happened before in the many, many orbits of people moving around sometimes. So like, yeah, sure, maybe they had a headbutt one time. Okay, all right. I can't be bothered to care about this. Other than this, like they've never proved anything that he's been violent in any way. And the title of the article in the Washington Post, at least in the online edition, refers specifically to sexual violence, which is a bit of a problem. Like in the article itself, it talks about domestic abuse, not domestic violence. And I think that word choice was chosen very carefully to avoid this problem. But for some reason, the title was changed because there's two different titles. There's the one in the print edition and there's the one in the online edition. So the title was changed. If you can show that Amber Heard approved of that title change, then you have a problem. Because now you're basically in a conspiracy to defame, which makes everyone, as part of the conspiracy, responsible for the conspiracy, so we can keep the hook on her. $5 from Mark. Cross of Butler was the worst we've seen. Felt like a junior associate's first time at trial. It left a lot to be desired. And $10 from Low Watermark. The Butler did it. New member, Bunny. Thank you very much for becoming a new member. It is appreciated. We always appreciate everyone here. So if we're trying, again, this goes a lot into what exactly we're trying to prove, right? What do they mean? And what do they mean to this jury? And as was mentioned on Legal Bites by one of our new panelists, whose name I temporarily forget, but was a Fairfax County litigator. I think his name might have been Mark. But as was mentioned by our new panelist, you know, we don't know what's going through this jury's head, which is, you know, a fair criticism. We don't know the degree to which members of the jury have in their own lives used drugs, been around those who've used drugs, been involved in domestic violence, either themselves committing domestic violence, being on the receiving end of domestic violence, or abuse. Either way, right? We don't know what this jury knows or what they've seen or what they have experienced and what they might think about what a term like domestic abuse might convey. I think you're going to have a tougher time on that one with the sexual violence to show that, though. What with domestic abuse, it's a little bit more open. So that's what Amber Heard's lawyers are trying to do. They're trying to open the term. Because what's abusive? Can verbal be abusive? And to this point, also, Johnny Depp himself has said as much, that verbal can be abusive. He said as much during his direct when he talked about his family and being raised by his mother and talked about how the words were abusive and how the mental games were abusive. So he thinks that can qualify as abuse. So they've got that ground. And again, they've got things from Johnny Depp that could be read to understand that. Again, also, a jury could reasonably understand that everything Johnny Depp ever did was only in response to Amber Heard. So he was never the abuser. He was just trying to stand up for himself as best as he could as the person who was abused. So this is something also the jury could understand. But, you know, it depends a lot on what the jury thinks about the things. It depends a lot on how successful Amber Heard's lawyers are going to be in terms of opening up a term like domestic violence. The sexual violence, though, if she gets stuck with that, if she gets stuck with approving that title, that's a rough road. Because they don't have anything that could even be remotely close to that, in my opinion. So, we still have a lot of trial to go, of course. I don't know what lawyers Johnny Depp, apologize. Rob? Thanks. Rob, our new guest. I said Mark. I'm not sure where I got that from, but Rob. Fair enough. Rob, our new guest. So I'm not sure what witnesses Johnny Depp has left to call. I'm not sure much. I'm not even really sure how much time he has left to be at this point, to be honest. They might have several additional witnesses. They might consume the rest of the week in witnesses, which would make sense. They consume like the first 3 weeks of trial, and Amber Heard's lawyers consume the last 3 weeks of trial. Of course, they have to give themselves time for opening and closing arguments and jury instructions to the jury. And these jury's instructions, when they come down, will be fascinating because they will teach us the law. And then we will read them and we will understand them. They will have to consider how Virginia state law considers domestic abuse. I don't know if that's true or not, to be honest. I don't know if they're necessarily limited to how Virginia considers domestic abuse or not. I don't know the answer to that question. I think the expelled lady's husband is going to be a big witness. He witnessed the plane incident. Okay, cool. Yeah. So we still have a lot to go, including hearing from Amber Heard's side. So maybe she'll be able to somehow pick up some things in the interim. What about the sexual violence that Amber Heard's lawyer brought up in the opening? Well, the opening isn't evidence. I mean, it's not evidence. So, I mean, show me some evidence that would lead to that conclusion. So, I mean, I hope at some point they're able to put something on that would resemble that, but I haven't seen it thus far, so I don't see it. The story Amber Heard's told was stolen story. It was her secretary's trauma. I'm sure they'll cross her on that. That'll be pretty hilarious too. Yeah. More about how Virginia considers implied defamation. Yeah. I think the jury can read into the statement, but I think to say that these statements are about Johnny Depp, I think the jury can get there fairly easily. So to say these statements are about and concerning Johnny Depp, I think they can get there. I think the 2 years ago line reasonably can be understood to put that into people's heads. And then also when she talks about the whole boat metaphor later about seeing how Hollywood protects powerful people can be reasonably understood to be about Johnny Depp. So I don't think getting to the implication that it's about Johnny Depp is really problematic. And then it just becomes a question of how broadly does the jury understand terms like sexual violence and domestic abuse? Those are sort of the questions that are... Trish says, does anyone know what this talk keeps coming out about metadata and pics? Yes, I do. It's a jab at Amber Heard's side. So Amber Heard's side was, of course, as part of discovery, supposed to turn over information, including metadata to the photos. And they didn't turn over the metadata. And Johnny Depp's lawyers obviously complained about this, and the court found that they had violated the discovery process. And so all these little mentions about the metadata are little jabs at the other side to remind them that they didn't play nice with others. So, good times. Is there anything more for tonight? Yeah, that would also confirm, it would confirm if the photos were when they were taken, perhaps where they were taken, perhaps if they were edited, sure. Can JD's lawyers introduce the fact the makeup brand came out and said the product was related to 2017? Sure. They have a good faith basis to ask the question. So yes, they can. She also had the ACLU help draft it so they call out Johnny without explicitly naming him because the NDA she signed in the divorce. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't necessarily mind someone trying to go up to the line of an NDA. I don't mind someone consulting with a lawyer to try to go up to the line of an NDA, right? An NDA is only as powerful as the NDA is powerful. So if you can go up to the line, then great. They might have gone past the line, but in some ways it doesn't matter to some degree because we're not suing over breach of contract. If we're suing over breach of contract, we'd be arguing over the provisions of the NDA. We're not. So we're not really concerned with whether or not she violated the NDA, except as it might relate to her propensity for honesty or something. But we're not really concerned about it as a principal issue. What we're principally concerned about is these three sentences, and really two to my mind. Well, I guess all three, to be fair. We're worried about these three sentences in this one article is what we're supposed to be worried about. And a lot of the other stuff we have is a lot of mess. Why doesn't Why doesn't Amber Heard's lawyers just produce the proof for domestic violence and end this trial? I can't understand this part because they don't have it. If they had it, I'm sure they would have crossed Johnny Depp on it. They don't have it. This is the best they've got. It can't get much better than this. It's hard to believe that they're saving some massive piece of evidence for their direct, because why? Why would you do that? Why not crush Johnny Depp now if you have some sort of major evidence of the domestic violence? Right? Why not make him confront that? So I don't think they have it. What they're doing in the lack of having it is trying to expand the terms. So what they do have will fit within the terms. So that's what they're trying to do. And, fair enough as far as it goes, because that's kind of their job. But what the jury will buy or not, who can say? Why is there only 6 or 7 jurors? It's 7. Incidentally, that seems like such a small number, it makes the final decision seem random. Just coincidental, what previous life experiences they've had. Well, it's 7 because Virginia said 7. That's why. Virginia thought 7 was the right number. It's 7. Yeah. But what's interesting about Virginia, that's not true of many states, is that in Virginia, it has to be unanimous. So in many states where you have a 12-person jury, it doesn't have to be a unanimous decision. And the rules exactly in terms of how many jurors you need obviously varies from place to place. So, actually, in some ways, Virginia's probably it's a tough split to say which is harder. Is it harder to get 7 people to agree unanimously, or harder to get, say, 10 out of 12 to agree? It's probably easier to get 10 out of 12 to agree than to get 7 people to agree unanimously. Yeah, because unanimity is, it can be a tough thing. So yeah, that's the number Virginia has, and that's what it is. Am I going to cover Supreme Court arguments today in Kennedy versus Brabant? If that's the football prayer case, yes, I will. I'm going to wait for the audio and transcript to be synced inside of a OYE because it makes the presentation much easier. That'll probably take a day or two. So either tomorrow night or Wednesday night, we will probably do reaction for that, or later, depending on when their availability is. How many women, how many men? I think, because 2 have been dismissed, I don't remember. I think, because there's, 9 there now? So they still have 2 alternates? What's the standard for abuse for the jury? That's a good question, and I don't think there really is one, to be honest. If I was a betting man, I don't think the jury instructions are going to define abuse. I don't think the jury instructions are going to define violence. I could be wrong. Perhaps they do. But I'd be a bit surprised if they do. I mean, they'll define defamation for sure. and legal stands for defamation, but they're probably not going to define what abuse or what violence means. So it's up to the jury to decide what it means, and then up to decide whether or not, whether or not Amber Heard was within the scope or not. Probably. Is Me Too on the ropes because of this trial? I don't know if it's because of this trial, but this trial certainly isn't helping. Yeah, 2 had been dismissed, I believe. It's predominantly men, which I don't know how that goes. Uncivil, you say they don't have proof of DV, but how's it reach the jury trial? Well, again, if I were a betting man, the thing is, what does abuse mean, and what does sexual violence mean? So I would imagine the reason the judge allowed it to go forward was because there was evidence a person could construe to be sexual violence or abuse. Abuse, maybe. Sexual violence, I haven't really seen of. But, strictly speaking, of course, they're suing over the article as a whole. That the article is defamatory. There's 3 sentences that are sort of key. So, the best argument for Amber Heard's attorneys in sort of avoiding summary judgment is that second sentence relating to abuse. And then you say, well, what does abuse mean? And it can be, a lot of things. And so that's probably the reason why it's ongoing, because of that one sentence, if I were a betting man. Now that Johnny Depp doesn't go back on the stand, is he free to talk to his attorneys and watch social media? He can talk to his attorneys for sure. I'm not sure about the other part. I wouldn't be watching anything about this case if I were him. You get too much into your head. For the 346 of you who are here, thank you very much. Can JD's lawyers have pushed this to jury trial, or this lays internally on the defense side? Jury trial can be demanded by the plaintiff. It's up to the plaintiff. And I'm sure they wanted a jury trial. Other questions? I will keep talking as long as you guys have questions and or are super chatting me. Do you think it would help JD define abuse or leave it to the jury? I wouldn't go with an explicit definition, but I would definitely try to frame my closing arguments by narrowing it down. I'd say, well, she said sexual violence, and that means this. I mean, I wouldn't go as quite with like a definition, be a little bit more subtle about it. But yeah, I try to basically either explicitly or implicitly define the terms narrowly and say that Amber Heard doesn't have it. I saw that Howard Stern on his show, I believe today, had commented that he thought Johnny Depp was overacting. And he thought it was really shameful. I mean, I didn't really see that personally, but I guess that's why we all have different sets of eyes. He thought he was overacting, and I don't know, man. Chris from Belfast, did Amber have a domestic violence charge against her partner in a bisexual relationship? I don't know if she ever had a charge, but she's committed violence in her relationships. I don't know whether or not it ever manifested as a charge or not. Do I think Ben King was a good witness? I do think he was a good witness. Yeah, he's a good witness. He testifies to finding a finger. He testifies to the damage to the house. He testifies to the things he saw. He testifies to all that. Am I interested in the Crumbly parents trial? Yes, I am. Should I live stream it? I'll have to talk with Stephanie about that. We are trying to find the Crumbly trial, the Crumbly parents trial is interesting. And then it only becomes a question of what is the likely response? Because, I want to have something that will be as successful as this trial has been for Legal Bites and Rittenhouse has been for Nick Rekieta. And they're both my friends, and I am thrilled for their success, of course, and I'd like to have some success of my own as well. So the question just becomes, in terms of a commitment like that, if I'm going to commit to doing something like gavel to gavel, which is a lot of commitment, then I'm happy to do it as long as I feel like I'm going to get what I want out of it, in sort of the exchange. So the question becomes finding a case that will have the right resonance with people so that they will be interested. So the Kremley case is definitely on my radar. The one that they just arrested the wife for, that the shooting of that FSU professor in his driveway, the wife just got arrested. That's on my radar. The Daybell trial, the Daybell trial is on my radar as a possibility. So these are sort of on my radar as possible cases. Anything else? Ben King came badly off cross. I don't really agree. I just found the cross to be very ineffective to my mind. I don't really agree with that. Do the Valo Daybell case? Maybe. It's on the radar. Assuming it's going to be live streamed, of course. Do you think the jury will go more with their gut than the law? Probably, if I was a betting man. I could see them saying AH is not well, so they side with JD. I think that's a distinct possibility, yes. Am I okay? I'm not looking good. I'm fine. Thank you for asking. The Adelson case? Can JD's team do anything to compel AH teams to play nice? They're playing within the bounds of the rules. They're playing within the bounds of rules for the most part. So I don't think they're not playing nice. I think they're doing a fine job, both of them. I did say the jury has to be unanimous. That is a thing in Virginia. Yes, so the 7-member jury will have to be unanimous in their verdict. It's my lighting. My face looks redder. Can't please everybody, man. I have some redness in my skin. I mean, what can you do? Charlie Adelson. Let me Google this real fast. I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to look into that more. Do you feel like lawyers should always do a cross? No, they shouldn't always do a cross, for sure. $2 from AD. Is Florida guilty of retaliation against Disney? It's a very good question, to be honest, and the answer is I don't know the answer to the question. So here's the thing. If it depends a lot how you look at this issue, and I don't know what the right answer is. I think the answer is no, but I'm not 100%, but I think it's likely no. And here's why I think it's likely no. If you punish a private entity for their speech, that's First Amendment retaliatory conduct, which is very, very bad, right? So the state can't punish a entity for their speech. And by punish, I mean not giving benefits, withdrawing benefits, acting arbitrarily and capriciously, something like that, right? They have to treat them as fairly as they treat anyone else in the category. So they have to be kind of even-handed about it. So you could view as what Florida did as a First Amendment retaliation claim, which I'm sure Disney, if they're going to sue, will try. Here's the thing. The governmental districts like the Reedy Creek Development District, is a governmental district. It has like a mayor and city council people, all of which are Disney employees, incidentally. But it has a government, a private government, but it's, yeah. So the thing is, when you're talking about a district like the Reedy Creek district, all entities within the state are creatures of the state's will and whim. So the government of the state can just kind of do anything they want. They can abolish cities, they can create cities, they can abolish counties, they can create counties. They can kind of do anything they want. And if a city is misbehaving in their view, they can punish them. They can punish them in all kinds of ways. Like they can punish them by taking over their police department, or punish them by taking over their fire department, or punish them by taking over their education department, or punish them by, ceasing them to exist, or whatever, because it's a governmental entity and they're creatures of the state. So the First Amendment protection is of the state, not of the city. And so if the state comes in and be like, Miami, you no longer exist. You're not a city anymore. Sucks to be you. Miami can't really do jack shit about it because, it's a city or not, depending on the whims of the legislature. So I think on balance, what Florida did is probably legal because all they did technically was abolish the Reedy Creek Independent District, which, as a creature of state law, okay. I mean, fine. So I think it's probably legal, but I'm sure there will be a lawsuit over it. And they did abolish all the special districts, incidentally, which I'm not sure, even speaking, that's required. Also, I'm not sure it protects their ass in a legal sense. Because, again, in the same way that the implied defamation, like the defamation by implication in Virginia, where like, this article could be about anyone. Is it about Johnny Depp? Yeah. Like, the same reason we're doing that. We're implying it. Like, you could say, well, Florida can say, yeah, we're just abolishing all the districts. And Disney can be like, yeah, but you're really doing it to us. And I mean, come on. Of course they are. Of course they are. So a court will see right through that and no problem. Right? The same problem. It's like, oh, we abolished all the districts. It just so happens to touch to you. Nah, you did it specifically because of us. It's First Amendment retaliation. Yeah, I don't think the fact that they abolished all of them at the same time really gets them much latitude. Can I explain a bit about being unanimous verdicts? Yeah, all 7 of them have to agree. When they actually get to 7, because I think there's 9 on the jury right now, which has 2 alternates. So after closing arguments and after jury instructions, they'll select 7 of them and send them to the back of the room and be like, okay, great. Did Johnny Depp defame Amber Heard? Did Amber Heard defame Johnny Depp? If so, please assign dollar values. And all of them have to agree. It has to be 7-0 vote. That's what it means. Next time you leave Legal Byte, make sure you start your stream on it right away and not an hour. We'll get a lot more coming over from there. I thought giving people more advance notice would be helpful, to be honest. How do I think strict scrutiny applies in retaliation cases? I could argue treating districts in the same is compelling interest requiring elimination special privileges. Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think the state has a compelling interest. They have a valid interest, but I don't think they have a compelling interest. Compelling interest is pretty hard. To have a compelling interest, that's pretty hard. It's meant to be hard. So do I think the state has a compelling interest? No. But then again, if it's a creature of the state, they don't need any interest of any variety. They can just do whatever the hell they want. Because it's a state level entity. And so they're doing it to themselves, technically, right? That's the problem. Like, they're doing it to themselves. Normally a government can't act arbitrarily and capriciously, but in this situation, they're doing it to themselves because Reedy Creek is them. And so, like, stop hitting yourself. I'm like, okay. What if the random picks are all male? Are they required to have one female? No, they're not. The rule, incidentally, for jurors is that the jury pool has to be sufficiently diverse, not the jury itself. So what they have to try to ensure is that the original pool, that's the master pool, that's all the people that started this thing in the long ago in the far away, all the jurors, I don't know how many all the jurors was, but all the jurors have to be sufficiently representative. So there doesn't have to be like set number of men, women, black people, Asians, whatever, but it does have to be roughly, and I use the term roughly with some note, it has to be roughly fair. But the actual jury doesn't have to be fair. So if you wind up with, 7 white men or 7 black women, well, okay. That's what you got. Since JD had said on the stand he'd never been violent with AH, would you advise against such an absolute statement in prep? Would a mutually combatant fly ruin credibility? I would only advise against it if I thought there was a problem, and I would go over it pretty thoroughly to make sure there's not a problem. But being wishy-washy about it is a bad look. So if he can get away with saying it absolutely, that's preferable. Can they both be guilty of defaming each other, or is it one or the other? They can both be liable for defamation. Yes, they can technically both be liable because they're over different things. They can technically both be telling the truth and technically both be telling lies. Yeah, because Amber Heard is suing over this one specific incident, and Johnny Depp is suing over this one specific newspaper article. So strictly speaking, yes, they both could be telling the truth. They both could be telling lies. One or the other or the one. Yeah, those are the possibilities. Unanimous verdict will be an uphill battle for plaintiff. What do you think the odds are for Depp? I think it goes a lot to the jury instructions for sure. But I think right now the odds favor Johnny Depp. But we still have a lot of trial left to go. Susan, we don't allow personal insults of other people. I don't know what "are your eyes brown" is supposed to mean, but it doesn't sound like a nice thing to say in this sentence. We don't allow personal insults. You can disagree with other people in chat. Please don't insult other people in chat. Just be nice. What else? I'm cracking you up? Oh, that's nice. I'm glad. Does the public get to hear when the lawyers talk about jury instructions? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know whether or not the jury instructions are going to be done at one of these behind the door sessions or not. I mean, they're still on the record, so it's not like it's a secret, but they might not be televised, right? So everything that happens on the record, whether or not we can see it, I mean, all those bench conferences are on the record. The stenographer is still taking it all down. So, there's that. But obviously we will hear the final version of them when they read them to the jury. Does an appeal also need to be unanimous? No. And the appeal would go to an appellate court, which is a 3-person court, and you need a majority of the appellate court on the issues of the law. I had a decent idea what they were saying, by the way. I wasn't oblivious. I was just trying to be kind by saying, I'm not sure what you mean, by trying to be a little bit kinder. Do they show transcripts to the jurors when they play audio clips? No. What we see is what they see, so no transcripts. Could I please talk about the makeup brand situation? How do you think JD's team will use this interview, and what can AH teams do? I don't know how they'll use it. I don't know how they use it. They might just use it totally in their closing. They might reserve it for their closing. And, just go with that. I don't know the answer to that question, how they'll do that. Do you think AH is insufficiently prepped, that if JD's called her tomorrow, they could effectively ambush her? It's a dangerous strategy. I'd be very surprised if that happened. I'd also be very surprised if Amber Heard wasn't so well prepped at this point. Because, I mean, this has been going on for a while now, and I'm sure they'll give her last-second prep before they go on the stand, but, like, I would assume she's been very well prepped at this time. How do sanctions from the judge happen? How would they affect the case? Well, sanctions are, penalties given to whomever for whatever violations there are. So, like, the members of the audience today got a little bit of a scolding for laughing. It's like, order, I'll have you thrown out. And she says, throw them out. They get thrown out. If the lawyers do something like that is improper, they could hold them in contempt. But, no one's done anything that's contemptible. But that's how sanctions kind of work. $4.99. Can we talk about how Amber lawyer's objecting to his own question, please? It was funny. Please say it was. What else should he have said? Yeah, that was a good moment where he said, what was the question? He said, were you aware? He asked, were you aware of something? And then he said, yes, because so-and-so told me. And then he said, objection, hearsay. It's like, well, you answered the question. It's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, can't do that. Yeah, that's funny. Do I think there's a potential issue with the photos that weren't turned over? You perhaps slightly misunderstand. Johnny Depp's lawyers only have to turn over what they have, right? They have to turn over everything they have. If they don't have it, they can't turn it over. Now, maybe it's the case that Johnny Depp's lawyers, it doesn't really matter, incidentally, one way or another. Maybe Johnny Depp's lawyers only asked for certain photographs. It's like, we only want these ones. Maybe they were just handed them and they didn't bother questioning it. I don't know. The Amber Heard's lawyers could have asked for the photographs directly from him during the deposition. They had the opportunity to depose them. They could have asked for photographs from him. So, no, I don't think there's any issue. These are the photographs I gave him. We gave him everything they had. Did you guys ask for him if he had any photos? Oh, well, that's sad. Yeah. Could he said move to strike instead of object? Yes. Also, don't tell the other ones, but you're my favorite law tuber. Aw, thank you. Yeah. He can't get into trouble. The only way he can get into trouble is for not giving them what they asked for, through a proper subpoena, incidentally. So if they're like, well, we only want these photographs. He could have showed them the photographs in some way. They could have had him come into the office or whatever and say, can you show us all the photographs he takes? He said, sure. He shows them all the photographs. He says, okay, we want this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. We're like, okay. Done. Those are all the photographs they have. Can't turn over what I don't have. Yes, I can give you a shout out. I'm We Totted. That's cute, by the way, your name. I get it. Nice. Nice one. I hope you're proud of yourself. Am I doing internet fasting? No. Did Amber Heard's refuse to turn over her texts? I don't know the answer to that question. What else? Haven't seen the hat in a while. I can't really wear it with the earphones on, because they won't fit. The hat won't fit on. But I'll try to wear it more. Get some different earphones or something. Maybe some in-ear monitors or something. Why not split time between Legal Bites and Rakita? Increase your exposure as the stream has more viewers? No, it doesn't. At least when I was looking today, I was looking, Legal Bites, and Emily D. Baker were all even. They all had about 20,000 subs, 20,000 watchers at the same time. So I don't think Nick Rekieta is bigger than Legal Bites at this point. Do JD's team need to touch on malice? Well, she would not really, because she would know what's true, right? To get to malice, you have to show that she would know it's true. She would, because she was there, right? These are things that happened to her or not. So actual malice in this case is easy to prove. I mean, if you don't believe it, right? Actual malice is easy to prove. Like, how would she know? Well, she's talking about things that happened to her, so that's how she would know. Law and Cox had 368,000 at one point. Well, you know, good for them, I guess. Can she use insanity as a defense? No. Could Amber get in trouble for the flyers placed on people's cars, even if she didn't directly tell them? No. She and her legal team can only be held responsible for what they tell people to do. I like Legal Bites very much, Patty. If you like Nick, that's fine. That's why we have different people for different people's tastes. Anything else? I need to reach out to XQC on Twitch. He needs an actual lawyer to explain some things. Would be better his stream for sure. I mean, I can't imagine that XQC with 130,000 viewers doesn't have some lawyer friends that he could reach out to. I don't know why he would want me, a random person, commenting in particular. I don't really know what that, how that works. Are my super chats held because it's wild conspiracy? Oh, I apologize. Maybe I missed your chat. I apologize if I did. Jamiet McClement said, I have a conspiracy theory. Amber will claim they cut one another, and that's why they put those scratched arm picks in, why they're playing the cutting audio, and why no metadata. Yeah, I think that's where they're trying to go, right? Eventually. So, and then she said 199, they'll use it to explain the finger incident. Could well do. Well, I think we've reached the end of this stream tonight. I'll be on tomorrow with another recap. We will have a stream soonish. Maybe it will be Friday. Maybe it will be tomorrow or Wednesday. But we'll have a stream soonish for the football prayer case at the Supreme Court, because I think that's kind of interesting. If you liked this channel, please remember to do the YouTube things. Those YouTube things include, first, subscribing. Is the subscribe button red? It does not like being red. It was not meant to be red. It was meant to be gray. It's what it feels inside. And it wants to come out, but only you can help. Yes, by clicking the subscribe button. It can be what it was always meant to be, what it was deep inside, and its outside will reflect its inside. Click that red subscribe button today so it can be what it wants to be. Also, don't forget to hit the like button for 99 cents a month. It's literally the least YouTube will charge. Let me charge you. You too can be an uncivilian. You get your name on screen when we're doing some streams, and you get a cool little icon by your name with the scales of justice. That's nice. And also, don't forget to hit the like button because it helps with the YouTube algorithm thing. I will be on later tonight with some more additional streaming, so until maybe an hour from now or so, I hope all's well. Cheers and goodbye.